What is up, everybody, and welcome to the Get Your Bell Rung Football Podcast. He is Kevin Reynolds. I am Bobby Wall, and we are here to talk all things football and hit you with some takes that might rattle you up a bit. On tonight's show, we will talk about the Week 8 that was in the NFL. We'll talk about a boring snooze fest of a trade deadline. I got some fun facts for us where we sit right now in the NFL season, and obviously our starts of the week. But first, Kevin, how we doing, my friend?
Oh, doing well. For those of you watching, you see Bobby decide to still dress up like Thor. Now, before the show, he told me, well, we were going to do this on Halloween, which was yesterday. So he's still in the spirit. But that's actually a lie. We were going to do it Tuesday, which wasn't Halloween. So were you going to wear this then anyway?
Halloween. It is November 2nd, my friend. Tuesday was Halloween. Yesterday, we didn't do it. I was exhausted after working all day. I had a meeting after school.
You're right.
Then I had to go a couple hours of trick-or-treating. I know.
Yeah. Well, holy balls, I'm all over the place.
Still got the spirit.
Okay, yeah, I don't. I do, though. We went to a very fun. Did you ever meet Miss Lindsay Darr back when you worked in Washington County?
Yes.
So we become really good friends. We're drinking buddies. And we were at her big Halloween party, adults only, over the weekend. And me and two of my tennis people, Andrea and her husband Jason, came up with an idea that she would be a tennis player and we were her balls.
Okay.
Well, tennis balls. I mean, not everybody has your filthy mind. So I got on Amazon and got us both these optic yellow jumpsuit sort of thing, sweat stuff, and the big giant tennis balls. And I cut them out like a helmet. And we were her balls, and we ended up winning most creative costume at the party, which was nice. Feels good to be recognized.
Right. Even as someone's balls. Excellent.
Correct.
All right. Well, I'm sure that you know or have paid attention to the trade deadline. Last year, I think we were a little bit spoiled. We got some Christian McCaffrey action. That was nice. Obviously, we're hoping for some big names to be moved. Unfortunately, that did not happen. Probably the only three notable names I think was Montez Sweat and Chase Young, both defensive linemen for the Commanders, were shipped out for second and third round picks. And then Josh Dobbs went to the Vikings. I thought that was a great move. I'd mentioned to you that I thought this might happen, but was too lazy to post it on our page, which I should have because look like a genius. But what do you think about Dobbs to the Vikings? Do you think is he going to be able to keep them afloat, or is that just or are they done without Kirk Cousins?
I think they're in real trouble. Yeah, I think right now, if the playoffs started today, they'd be the number 7 seed at 4-4.
Yes, that was one of my fun facts.
They're luckily, let's just say it like this: luckily, they play in the NFC.
Very true.
If this was the AFC, they would be dead in the water. But here we are, and JJ's coming back soon. Who knows? Maybe this will pan out. Delusions of grandeur, though, of course not. If they get lucky, slide in the playoffs at 8-9 or 9-8, they're going to be once and done anyway. So what's the big deal? That said, Kirk is the man, dude. Did you see any of this stuff online? Dude's season is ruined. He's going to be free agent. He could be down in the dumps, crying in his beer. What's he do the next day? He's at the Vikings training facility handing out candy with his leg in one of those little wheel cart things.
Yeah.
How many other guys, I'm being for real, how many other guys in the NFL would do that? And fully understand if they didn't. Most of them won't do it even healthy. But how many of them would be that hurt? We're not talking like he got a sprained ankle. We're talking like he had surgery the next morning. The dude he's dreamy.
He's top-notch character, man.
Sure. Yeah, and arguably having the best season of his career without JJ, without Thielen.
I mean, he's going to be somewhere. I don't know if he's going to be in Minnesota next year, but good grief. Someone has
come out and said straight up they're going to do everything they can to re-sign it. They don't want his Vikings career to end like that.
Good. And, I'm sure he doesn't either. So,
but he is the man. Why does the dude not? We know why, but the fact that he gets such little respect from people, I think NFL people love him. I think other players on his team and other teams all respect the hell out of him. But for some reason, again, we know why, the press just rails him.
Yep. It's sad. I think the biggest news of the weekend, though, or I guess not the weekend, but right after the games finished, were Raiders coach Josh McDaniels, the first one to get to the chopping block.
Yeah.
And but that was, I mean, you saw it coming. They're 3-5. It's not like they're having, it's not like they're winless or only a one-win team. But the thing that kind of made me go, huh, was the very first thing that the quote new coaching staff did was bench Jimmy Garoppolo and put in Aiden O'Connell and said, he gives us the best chance to win. He's the best quarterback we have.
Well,
So
we'll see if that lasts.
well, yeah. So that tells me that, maybe McDaniels is starting Jimmy G, knowing he's not the best quarterback, but that's his boy from New England, right? They're buddies. They have that relationship, and maybe he should be doing that. And that could have been why he got the door. But whatever, no matter what, I own Devontae Adams in a bunch of leagues. Jimmy G wasn't doing it for him, so I'm more than happy to see what Aiden O'Connell does. I think O'Connell started a game earlier this year, and Devontae Adams had like 13 targets or something. So
I think the best guy for him would be Brian Hoyer.
I don't know.
Doesn't he pepper him the most? Regardless, there is dysfunctional franchises. There is. McDaniels is going to get paid however $6 million a year or something for the next 4.5 years to do nothing. They fired the GM as well. They should have never gotten rid of Mayock and whatever that special teams dude was that came in and led them to like 6-2 after he came in and made the playoffs.
Aglia or something. Wasn't it something like
something
that?
like that.
Yeah.
All that was just dumb because all he cares about, just like his dad, is these splash plays, these big names, doing everything you can to put the spotlight on your team as opposed to producing wins.
So if you're listening and you don't know it, head coaching contracts are fully guaranteed. They're still paying John Gruden.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, they're paying two coaches now that are no
They
longer
actually, I think they tried originally to fire him with cause,
right.
But that was the arbitrator quickly, I think, put the kibosh on that. That nope, not happening. You're going to pay him. How great would it be if he got hired back in the offseason?
To who?
Gruden.
Oh, Gruden.
There was talk this year of him getting hired as offensive coordinator in Tampa Bay.
I think McDaniels is done. I don't know about Gruden. I think it'd be tough to bring him back. McDaniels is done, right? This is his
as a head coach. Yeah, he'll come back as an OC somewhere because he's good at that. He's just an awful head coach.
Or does he do the Pete Carroll route? Does he go to USC? Because Lincoln Riley's there, right? He's probably going to get an NFL gig. Yeah. Go there for 5, 6, 7 years. Then maybe he's got another shot. But this is his third stint. I mean, he was the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts for like 7 minutes. So we can't forget about that.
I don't know if we could really even consider that a stint.
Well, it
was for wasn't he coach for a day?
I think that makes him getting another head coaching gig even more difficult. I mean, it's one thing to coach and fail, but it's another thing to accept a position and then just not show up. Like, just kidding.
I think both these places, Denver and the Raiders, he had little chance of any kind of success because of what they had in place anyway. But still, it's almost like he made it worse. Like that game, that wasn't football. That was just stupid. Devontae Adams, I think, had 2 targets the whole game, something like that. 3 targets, 1 catch.
Right. Now, he was wide open for 2 long touchdowns. And Garoppolo just flat out missed him. But
yeah, I don't know. I don't see that whole situation getting any better.
No, I don't either. But we'll see. Hey, that's how we felt whenever they made that right before they made that playoff run. So you never know.
Never know.
Fun facts for us. You had already mentioned one that the 4-4 Minnesota Vikings are somehow currently sitting as a playoff team. There are currently 8 teams with 2 or less losses, which is pretty top heavy there. One of those teams is the NFC West leading Seattle Seahawks.
Smoke and mirrors, my friend.
Listen,
they did the same thing last year, and they barely made the playoffs.
No argument for me. The 49ers are heading into the bye with 3 losses. I certainly did not see that coming.
In a row.
In the AFC North, a division you are pretty familiar with, it's the only division in which every team has a winning record. It's a tough one, man.
And I told you in our friend McGrogan a few weeks ago when you asked on our show what I saw for Burrow the rest of the year. And I said top 10. And you guys were like top 10 from here on out. I know he'll end up in the top 10. And the way he's playing now, he will most definitely end up in the top 10 if he keeps going the way, because he looks like himself again. And they're a dangerous team when he's raring to go.
Certainly are. And speaking of raring to go, I think the Broncos, I know we're going to talk about their big upset. I think they might be for real. They're 3-5, which isn't great. We just talked about the Raiders are 3-5. They fired their head coach, but they've always had talent. And Russell Wilson, he's not playing bad right now. He has more touchdown passes and less interceptions than your boy Patty Mahomes.
He was my QB of the week last week, and I was scoffed at.
Oh my gosh. You think you were always scoffed at?
I was scoffed. There was scoffing.
Not by me.
Oh no, you scoffed.
Oh my gosh. Their defense is clicking
Roll
pretty
the
well
tape.
too. They haven't given up their defense more than 19 points 3 weeks in a row. And their rest of the season schedule, if you look at it, they got a matchup or two in there, but it's not very daunting. I think they're finding their way in the Sean Payton system. And dude, I think they're going to finish this year strong. I think Broncos, who we casted out a couple weeks ago, I think they might be all right.
Well, unfortunately, they play not only in the AFC but the AFC West.
That is tough.
I can't really completely buy what you're saying here. I don't think 3 weeks ago people were acting like they were the worst team in football. At no point did I think that. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend I think they're going to make the playoffs or anything of that matter. But if they end up 8-9, I could definitely see something like that. I could see another like big upset coming on down the road that affects the playoff picture. But I have no delusions that they're what, 3-5, 9 games left. I have no delusions that they're going to end up 10-7. That would be 7-2 the rest of the way. That seems like a hard sell. I mean, you're saying you think that could happen, or you just think they're better than the pundits thought they were?
I would buy 6-3 the rest of the way. I agree that 7-2 would be a tough sell, but I'll buy 6-3 if you look at their schedule.
I'm going to look at it right now because I don't know. I've got to look to see if I'm going to buy what you're selling.
Yeah, go ahead.
I am, buddy. Don't you worry about me. Okay, they play the Bills this week at Buffalo. I got to call that a most likely a loss.
Yep, agreed.
Home against the Vikings. That's give or take. I can do that. Home against the Browns again. They could. That's winnable. At the Texans, definitely winnable. At the Chargers, I don't like their chances there. At the Lions, I really don't like their chances there. Home against the Pats, doable. Home against the Chargers, don't love it. And then away against the Raiders. So I could see a 5-4, 4-5 the rest of the way. But 6-3, I think's pushing it, which you don't know. That'd be 9-8.
Well,
but that's not going to get you in the playoffs in the AFC.
For you, the difference between 5-4 and 6-3 would be winning one of those games against the Chargers.
Most likely, yeah.
You know what I mean? And I can see that happening. So
yeah, especially if it's a game like against the Chiefs this week where it was cold, windy, snowy, a quarterback playing with the flu, which I would make the argument when I was going through with the Chiefs, but we're on it, that the Chiefs might have been better off if Pat sat. He looked like crap. He did not look. I'm telling you, he was so sick, I think, that he really had no business on the field.
He was still mobile, man. Yeah, especially early in that game. Now, he may have worn down, but early in that game, I'm watching him he hit someone with a step back when he was scrambling. He's so good in the pocket and even outside.
I'm with you. I think earlier on he did look decent, but you could just tell the second half, I did not expect a comeback. He just had nothing. He looked just like a zombie out on the field. And even as great as he is, him at 20% is not exactly stellar. And it showed. Touchdownless, right? Didn't they just have 3 field goals?
I believe so. Yeah. Right. It was, we'll get there. All right. You ready to break down these games? We got a bunch of them because there were no bye weeks.
Hey, let's do what you got to do there, big boy.
All right. Thursday night, man, not a great one. Tampa Bay lost to the Bills 18-24. Baker Mayfield, if you need a spot start, you can throw him in there, honestly, probably whenever you want. I mean, I don't want to play him against a real tough team or anything, but he can get to 20 points, man. The running game was terrible. Nobody could move the ball on the ground. Rachaad White did have a good game, but that was because he went 7 for 70 through the air. And then Evans and Godwin each got you a touchdown. Josh Allen's a man. We don't need to talk about him. Almost 30 fantasy points. James Cook, disappointing week after week after
Yeah.
week.
Now it's going to
Driving
get worse because Leonard
I know,
Fournette's going
man.
to start cutting into it
Yep, they
now.
just brought in Leonard Fournette, 100%. Dalton Kincaid, I think this was his first full game as starter or second. Either way,
Yeah, it's
he's an
just
every week starter, no matter what. Diggs, obviously, a little bit of a letdown, 11 and a half points, letdown for Diggs. And Gabe Davis, hey, there he is, one of his 3 good games of the year, 9 for 87 and a score.
I think Kincaid was my tight end play of the week,
He may have
but
been.
I'm too stupid to play him. Instead, I played
Yep.
Darren Waller in his 0.9 points.
Yeah, I threw Kincaid in there.
Yeah, I wasn't happy about. But
Yeah,
overall, this game it wasn't ever close. It was
Thursday.
24-18, but that last score came in junk time. At no point did anybody think Buffalo was going to lose. It is what it is.
And again, Thursday night, not our favorite night of the week. The Saints and the Colts. Boy, the Colts last week, they were the team against the Browns putting up a whole bunch of points, right? You got to go after these Colts games. Start everyone that you have whenever they play Indianapolis. Derek Carr got you a 20-point game. Love that. We may be hearing about him a little bit later in the show. Alvin Kamara is the man.
What?
Gosh,
So, are you trying to say that Carr is your play of the week?
I'm not saying anything
Because
yet.
he's mine too.
Of course he is.
What
It's a
the
great
hell?
play. He's a great
Why are you
play.
always stealing my thunder week after week?
Your thunder. Maybe you're trying to steal mine. You ever think of that?
Well, you do have some thunder there. It's your fancy costume.
The God of Thunder. Yes. Strongest Avenger. Well done, buddy. Taysom Hill, there he got one of his monster game. Well, I don't say monster game, but big games, 21
Pretty
points
monster.
for him.
21.6 out of a tight end is freaking
Yeah, that's true.
like getting 50
right.
out of a running back or receiver.
Oh, you're right. Dude, Rashid Shaheed, 26 points almost for him. Man, it's so scary to start him. Okay, if I told you, hey, I got a receiver, he scored 26 points. How many catches do you think he would have?
You probably think he probably had 10 catches, 130 yards, and a touchdown or two.
What if he had 3 catches for 153 yards? Oh, man,
the craziest thing, on only 3 targets.
It's so I want to put him in. It's just so hard to trust that man.
I may or may not this week. Right now, I've tentatively have put him in my very early on once and done, but it's just so hard to trust 3 targets.
Well,
and then I look back, that's what it always is.
Early on, I also have Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah, because the matchup is so juicy.
It really is.
Ride the hot hand, you know.
No,
save Olave for the playoffs.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how we do.
Olave, because there's a few others now. Your Demario Douglases of the world that I really want to play this week.
Yeah, listen, I can't play Olave now anyway. He's been a big letdown. Now he's getting a lot of targets. He just can't find the end zone. 5 for 46. Blah.
No, but they can't seem to hit him, and when they do, it's never in stride, or it's always on a play that's literally just was running him straight out of bounds. It's almost like they're not. The coaching staff is not putting him in any kind of situation, not necessarily for him to succeed, but for the team to succeed. Why are you using this guy in this manner that's not helping you win? I don't understand.
He's one of the best young receivers.
He is. It makes no sense.
National football.
Play after play, it just makes they never put him in a situation to score.
Stat I heard about Michael Thomas on the Fantasy Footballers all season. He has never had a game with less than 7 points and never gone over 11. He is. Wow. I mean, you were to talk about staying in your lane, buddy.
I'm clicking on impressive. Him right now. That 8.6, 9, 8, 7.3, 8.5, 7, 11.7, 8.8.
Okay. Sorry. Never higher than
11. but generally speaking, depending on your scoring system, right, it'd still be in that 11 range.
Is that incredible or what?
Wow. So if you know you need 8 points, he's the guy to put in. If you need,
you have to.
If you need 12, no bueno.
Go someone else, buddy.
Yeah.
And then for the Colts, you have the split backfield, Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor.
Oh.
They're both okay. I mean, they got you double digits, but it's like, man, could it just be one?
And they came out today just completely confirming this, saying, yes, we're riding the hot hand. We don't really care who it is.
And Jonathan Taylor's not even on the injury report.
No, he's not.
Yeah. And okay, since we're on this, can you guess who has the second most rushing yards in the NFL right now?
I guess it's Zach Moss.
It's Zach Moss, and he's RB4 in fantasy. Meanwhile, I have him on my bench every week since Jonathan Taylor's come back because I'm like, this is the week for Taylor. This week for Taylor. It's a Moss week every week.
I drafted him out of college, expecting big things. Let him on my bench for 3 years for a great deal. Never did crap. Finally get rid of him, and now he's
the man.
The man.
The man. All right, Dolphins.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that'll change real quick? The whole coach, this structure?
It has to, because, I mean, you don't pay Jonathan Taylor that much money and give the ball to Zach Moss.
Yeah, but Irsay wants to win. So here's my question then. Okay, as a man who plays in a once-and-done league, would you trust Jonathan Taylor in the fantasy playoffs weeks 15 through 18?
Where I'm sitting right now, no. Okay. I'm hoping it changes by then, but right now, no. I may or may not have Zach Moss in my once-and-done lineup right now.
Oh, I thought you already played him.
I don't know.
I played him in a week that he sucked. Surrounded by weeks where he blew up. What a surprise.
Well, the only player in our next game where Miami handily beat the Patriots we're starting is Kendrick Bourne. And Kevin, another week, another season-ending injury. Kendrick Bourne, I apologize for playing you in the once and done.
It's both of us. He had no chance. Zero.
Yeah, buddy. That's incredible. Every single week I end someone's season and I actually don't feel bad. I want to feel bad, but it's like, come on, guys, what are we doing? Don't get hurt.
I don't know, buddy.
And then for the Dolphins, let down game if you're Raheem Mostert, owner, but Tua did you well. Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, baby. Thank you. I needed that. He helped me to a big time win in my league of record. So I appreciate that. It's
so happy for you.
Thank you.
You got me 7 points last week in the once and done.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you about that. And you're in a tough spot with your hey, actually, in your league of record, we all know you had Anthony Richardson. He's out. You had Kirk Cousins.
Oh, yeah. That's great.
But you did tell me you got Derek Carr, right?
I did a couple weeks ago. I grabbed Derek Carr off the waiver wire, gave him a 2-year contract as my backup. Never expecting I'd have to play him full time. Yesterday, I tried to get Will Levis on a long-term contract, but the Red Ravagers outbid me. Their overall contract was $25. Mine was $22, so he got him this morning at 7:01. I picked up Taylor Heineke as my, at least for the time being, backup, so I do have a second quarterback.
You started the year with Kirk Cousins and Anthony Richardson, and you currently have Derek Carr and Taylor Heineke.
And in the first 4 weeks, those two boys I had were both in the top 6 overall.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Kirk Cousins was number 1.
Yep. And now nothing. Man. And of course, I went 0-2 this week against my biggest rival in my division, where I would have went 2-0 if DeAndre Hopkins wasn't on my bench.
Yeah, that's well, actually, you know what? Let's go there right now.
Let's get right there. Let's rub it in.
Taylor Heineke, he got a whopping 12.2 points, which tied him for the team lead in fantasy points because
we didn't play the whole game.
Right, I know. 12.2 for Bijan as well. I don't.
Finally scored.
His first NFL rushing touchdown. He had a receiving touchdown earlier.
But those are flukes.
The guy had 11 carries for 62 yards. They didn't all come on one carry. He is far and away
makes no sense.
The best player on the Atlanta
Falcons.
Falcons.
Smith needs fired. They were talking about on Sirius yesterday. Like if there's one head coach in the entire NFL that right now makes no sense to anyone, it's Arthur Smith. His whole philosophy makes no sense. Your 2 best players on the team hardly ever touch the ball. Even when they're rushing 11 for 62, why give him more carries? Let's give it to Algier more for his 8 for 31, less than 4 yards a carry. Let's give him 8 touches. It makes a lot of sense.
I don't know, man. You spoke about Will Levis. Obviously, he comes in, first NFL start, blows it up, 35 fantasy points, 4 touchdowns to the air. Only was it the first time since Marcus Mariota did it.
Yeah.
Maybe only time.
I think they're the
Besides
only
Marcus
two ever
Mariota.
have 4
Oh no, Fran
touchdowns in their
Tarkenton.
NFL debut.
Fran Tarkenton did as well.
Uh,
Just in there. Derrick Henry, decent game, 14 points. But the reason that Will Levis did so well is, as you mentioned just a minute ago, DeAndre Hopkins. He had a Rashid Shaheed stat line, 4 catches, but 3 of them went for scores and 128 yards. But look, I know everyone is all high on Will Levis, and I get it. Did you watch all of his touchdown passes?
I did. I watched all of it. I was talking to my buddy Jamie the other day. It was plays that do not typically happen in an NFL game where you just sort of get a little extra time, chuck the ball up 800 miles, almost like a punt, and all of a sudden some dude runs underneath of it 7 yards wide open and catches it in the end zone. Those are not going to happen every week. They were fluky-ish. That said, I'm not going to take credit from the dude because Ryan Tannehill and Malik Willis can't do that. So he made the throws, more power to him, but you're not going to get these gimme fluky busted coverage touchdowns of you catching a punt in the end zone every week.
Agreed. Did you see his footwork on those?
What he's throwing off his back foot, but he's like Josh Allen, dude. The guy can chuck a ball 70 yards off falling backwards. It's pretty impressive, the arm strength.
It absolutely is. But we also knew watching his film coming out of college that he has that in the bag. Like he has that club that he can use whenever he wants or needs to. The problem is he also knows he has that in the bag and will use it when he shouldn't, and it gets him into trouble more often than not.
I don't mind if he's chucking
puzzled.
the ball 60 yards downfield. It's just a glorified punt if they intercept. What I
Only
don't like is
down.
when he tries to weed that ball, like we saw at the scouting combine, where he's missing these 17-yard throws, 3 yards to either side. Those are the ones that get returned for pick sixes. So that's where he's going to have to learn to just take a sack, run out of bounds, throw the ball out of bounds, do whatever you got to do besides throw a pick.
Derrick Henry still had 4 targets. And that's good. A big arm guy like that doesn't always check it down and throw short. So that's a good thing to take from there.
How did he not get traded? What is wrong with the Titans? What are they thinking? Well, you're obviously rebuilding. Why would you not get everything you can for him now? Apparently, they won't give details. So I'm sure you read on various sites. A deal was in place with the Ravens, and what's her name? That Adams lady, the owner, decided to roll in and cancel it all.
Listen, Will Levis, Super Bowl champ. He's going to lead them there to the promised land. Yeah, that's what they
know. Them winning this game like that was probably the worst thing that could have happened.
If they would have lost, Derrick Henry would be in a different jersey.
Yeah, he'd be in the purple and black this week.
I believe it. I believe it. The Jaguars took down the Steelers 20-10. Trevor Lawrence was, you'll take his 16.7 fantasy points. Travis Etienne, monster game yet again. And Evan Ingram, feels nice to say his name, 10 catches for 88 yards. But let me ask you, Travis Etienne, if you own him, he's had 7 touchdowns in the last 5 games. You know he's battled injuries throughout his career. Do you hold on to him and think this is going to continue, or do you try to trade him now? Because his trade value, it'll be tough to be more than it is right now.
Why would you want to trade him? Just because you think he might get another injury?
No, not just that. But the fact that he's has a workload that there's no way he's going to be able to keep up. But also, the touchdowns there's going to be a regression there. There's no way he's going to keep up the pace that he has.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to keep up the workload. He's getting catches too.
His body
not rushing yards, but he's getting cumulative yards. I don't know. He's the number 2 running back in the entire game behind CMC. I don't think I'd trade him for just about anything.
I don't know, man. We've never seen him be able to hold up, especially with a workload like he's getting. I mean, he had 24 carries.
This is really only his second season. His first season was going before it started.
Imagine that from injury.
Yeah, but that's just a fluke torn ACL. I mean, shit happens.
The touchdowns aren't going to come like this. There's going to be a drop off. Now I'm not saying he's not going to be good, but he's not going to be he's not going to finish a year RB2.
Well, just even look at last week. He only had 1 touchdown. He still had 27.4. Take away the touchdown, he's still over 20 points. Yeah, I don't know. We're talking about an offense that's really starting to score, starting to click. They're winning games, and he's obviously now the focal point of it. Man, That's one of
Well,
those deals, man. You trade him and he blows up the rest of the year, and you end up losing the league. You look
yeah,
pretty
but I don't
stupid.
think he will. I don't think he will. And you could get a lot for him. A lot.
Well, maybe
I
the other
think
people
maybe
think the
not.
same way you do, and you wouldn't.
Very well could be
I
the
know
case.
I'd love to have him. I'd love to have the guy that halfway through the season is the number 2 running back. It's not like we're in week 3 here.
Oh, I know. But okay, we'll do we'll see.
I mean, he
I'm
could
telling you
get
right
hurt.
now,
I'm not
there's
saying he can't get hurt.
that's not
So
what I'm
does
saying.
CMC. Would you trade him too? He gets hurt every year.
I have an enormous man crush on Christian McCaffrey, so I would not trade him under any circumstances.
It's just
He might get
targeting
injured.
you is just pointless at times. I mean,
I'm,
that's your
I might keep,
argument.
I
CMC,
might
who's
keep.
been hurt way more times than Eddie and missed way more games. You wouldn't trade him because you have a man crush on him, but Eddie N should be going by this evening.
Listen, I did not say you should trade ETN. I asked you if you would. I did not say you should. Asked you if you would.
Yeah, but then now you're starting these. Well, we'll just see. Let's make a bet. This crap. Like you're expecting him to get hurt
No,
because of his past, but CMC because of your man crush. You don't care if he gets hurt.
even if he doesn't get hurt. First off, yes, correct. McCaffrey, if he gets hurt, I might just put him on my bench and just waste a
Oh
bench.
Lord. I mean, it's just anybody that listens to the show. I mean, the credibility of you sometimes is poor at best.
Kevin, if ETN does not get injured, he will not finish the year as RB2.
Who's going to pass him?
It could be any number of people. He might, if he stays healthy, finish in the top 5. The touchdowns, touchdowns and all this it's not going to stay. You're not going to keep this alive. We're halfway through the season. Right. It's not going to happen.
Well, we probably thought that about CMC, Eckler, Barkley, Latavius Tomlinson, Priest Holmes, all these other people in the past that had their first big breakout year. I agree he's not going to score 2 touchdowns a game, but I'm not really understanding your hatred for him. Did he run over your dog last week? Did him and Reggie have something going on before you met her? I mean, what?
Deontay Johnson. He was the only double-digit fantasy scorer on the Pittsburgh Steelers. 8 for 85. He's coming back. He's doing pretty good coming back from an injury.
How do you feel about playing him on a Thursday?
Oh, dude. Well, I was going to ask you how you feel about playing George Pickens. Oh, man.
I would love to, but I already played him. But I may or may not have Deontay Johnson going tonight.
The matchup is great. Tennessee Titans are not good against wide receivers. Kenny Pickett's a little injured, but I think him and Mitchell Trubisky are the same person.
Pretty much.
So
14 targets speaks for itself.
The only thing keeping me from playing, George Pickens is the fact that it's a Thursday game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know we don't like doing it. We've done it more times than usual already this year, but
I know.
I tentatively had Deontay Johnson penciled in for tonight.
All right. I know. I'm going to see. It might be a last minute thing for me and Pickens. Yeah. We'll see where it goes.
Give me a fun reason to watch too.
Yeah, that's true. The Cowboys came in and dominated the Rams. Not good for anyone on the Rams except for Darrell Henderson and Royce Freeman. If for some reason you had him in, they both had double-digit fantasy points. The Cowboys, on the other hand, Dak blew up and CeeDee Lamb blew up. And somehow Brandon Cooks got 12 points. He hasn't done that might be his only but what I'm saying is that might be his only double-digit fantasy point outcome of the year.
2 weeks ago he had 13. Week 6 against the Chargers, and then they had the bye.
Yeah. Jake Ferguson, though, he scored that first touchdown. I was lucky enough to have Prescott and Ferguson in the once and done, so that was pretty good for me. And I like Ferguson going forward, especially this week against the Eagles. The Eagles are not good against tight ends or quarterbacks or receivers, so start all your Cowboys.
Yeah, Ferguson's nice. I mean, the week I played him, he did really well. He had 1 catch, 15 yards. It's awesome. My 2 points. Still beat Darren Waller.
Oh, it's true. The ugliest game of the week, and maybe one of the ugliest games I've ever watched, was the New York Jets and the New York Giants. The Jets won 13-10 in overtime. Zach Wilson, actually, good for him, man. He led a nice game tying drive, and then they were able to win it in OT. So good for him. Breece Hall, 21 fantasy points. Garrett Wilson got 14. So, you're happy with those from from your Jets players. And then Saquon Barkley, 14.3 is pretty good. 36 attempts, though, was pretty
Yeah, it's
wild.
crazy.
My favorite stat for the New York Giants is that they had 7 passing yards. And the Tommy DeVito, the quarterback that came in after Tyrod Taylor got hurt, has -1 passing yards on the day. That is something.
I'd like to get a hold of Elias and see a stat of how many times in NFL history a single man ran 36 times in a game and their team still lost. Because typically when that's going on, you're ahead and you're just beating down the clock and just pounding them.
Maybe a couple times in the 40s.
You probably saw somewhere today. It might have even been a rotor. I'm not sure. It called it the ugliest game in NFL history.
That's what I did not see that, but dude, that might be the worst game I've ever seen.
It wasn't pretty. It was just an embarrassment of not riches. It's just crap. Let me ask you this: what's with this meme all the time I'm seeing now about Zach Wilson and the Kelsey's mom?
Oh, it's just a joke because Zach Wilson, it came out like he hooked up with his
right. I know that. So, yeah, but
so it's just a joke.
The Kelsey's mom, like
just because she's a mom and it's Zach Wilson.
Okay,
that's it. I tell you, fantasy, I don't want to call it a bonanza, but a pretty nice fantasy game was the Eagles and Redskins game. It was basically the exact same thing that happened the first time they played. Philadelphia ended up winning 38-31 in Washington. Jalen Hurts did well for you. DeAndre Swift is having a real nice year. Found the end zone on the ground. AJ Brown is an absolute man. 8 for 130 and 2 touchdowns. Set the NFL record for most consecutive games with at least 125 receiving yards. Devonta Smith finally had a really nice game for you, almost 20 fantasy points.
Great.
My guy Sam Howell, 32. What can you look up while I'm talking here and finishing up? Where does he rank on the season as far as quarterback scoring in fantasy? Because he has got to be. Of course, I can
look it up, buddy.
He's got to be top.
I'm gonna look it up right now. And just quarterbacks.
Yep. Jahan Dotson got you 20 points. McLaurin was 14.8. That was the easiest start. Logan Thomas scored, so he went into double digits. And Jamison Crowder, Curtis Samuel got hurt, so Crowder played, and he went 7 for 95 and found the end zone himself. So lots and lots of scoring in this one.
Howe is 9th in points for quarterbacks. Average, he's 13th.
Yeah, man. That'll do it. That'll do it for you.
They have not had a bye yet. Yeah.
No. Anything for you from that one? It's nice game. It was exciting to watch.
Quick. I did notice, of course, Smith 19.4. He and Jalen Waddle both each had more points alone than they had together the week I played them, which was great. From the skin, I think you or Commanders, whoever they are, you and I again, we both played Terry McLaurin. We both played McLaurin. Who was the other one we played? We spoke of earlier. Bourne.
Kendrick Bourne,
and then I played Nico Collins. You played Tank Dell.
Oh, I know, man. And our lineups, as we just mentioned, a couple of guys look pretty similar this week as well.
It's looking that way.
Vikings got a nice win, but this was really a loss for them. Kirk Cousins, torn Achilles. He is done for the year. Jordan Addison got a nice game for you because he scored, but what does he look like after this? TJ Hawkinson, monster game for him. What does it look like for him after this? KJ Osborne finally 8 catches for 99 yards. Too many question marks here. I hate it. And the Green Bay Packers are one of the worst teams in football. And it's going to be tough for you to convince me otherwise.
They started off so well. And now they look like the Raiders. Dysfunctional.
Yeah, it's not good. It's ugly to watch them play.
Thing is, it's making Aaron Rodgers look like more and more and more of a genius and a surefire, one top end, unanimous Hall of Fame selection. Because without him, these guys straight up suck.
Oh yeah, there's nothing. I mean, that's it. There's nothing else you can say about it.
Nothing happened there.
I don't want to start anyone from Green Bay. I would start Aaron Jones in my flex if I had to, but as much as I like Aaron Jones, I don't feel confident in it.
I even called Dobbs one of my plays of the week, and he scored. But he scored and still only had 9.8 points.
Think about that.
18 yards.
That's so tough. But that's that's what he's been doing.
Let me ask you this. I haven't looked. I should have looked today. How many teams in the league, even now here in just week 9, are not starting the same quarterback this week that they started in week 1? The guy that was
Oh,
expected to be their starter in week 9. It's got to be 12, 13, 14 teams.
I was going to say pushing half. Let's get through these games and we'll look real quick. Next one, Texans and Panthers. Somehow this one was probably a little bit better than the Jets and the Giants, but 13-15, not a very exciting score. And the only position player, the quarterbacks barely had double-digit fantasy points. Adam Thielen, I don't want to say does it again, but he kind of does it again. 8 for 72. He is having a
It's one of his weaker games of this season.
I know. I love it. Good for him, man. I like.
Yeah, it's actually his second lowest.
I like Adam Thielen. So we'll move on quickly from that to the Browns and Seahawks. Seahawks pulled out a win here. I wasn't sure that was going to happen because this Browns defense is one of the best defenses in football.
Haven't looked like it 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I know. Well, they're making plays though. They lost against the Seahawks, gave up 24 points, but
still, man, 24 to the Seahawks, 38 to the Colts.
Yeah,
it's a lot of points, brother. Even if you do get a defensive touchdown here and there, that's a lot of freaking points.
Yeah, but who are they playing this week? Is it the Cardinals, I think, and Clayton Tune or something?
It is the Cardinals.
Yeah, they got a great matchup. Kareem Hunt, there we go. I'll take that. 14 carries and a score for Mr. Hunt. He also had a catch. Amari Cooper's getting a ton of targets, and he was 6 for 89, but it's tough when you got these. I mean, PJ Walker throwing you the ball and Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Deshaun Watson might play this week. He might be done, I don't know, napping on Sundays or whatever it is he's doing.
I'd say it's about 50-50 now because you see what he said today? Just
Yeah,
because I'm throwing in practice doesn't mean I'm playing.
It's awful. I hate it. And then for the Seahawks, honestly, even though they scored 24 points, Tyler Lockett was the only guy you probably had in your lineup, unless, I mean, I doubt you started JSN, but I'm starting Kenneth Walker, and I'm starting Lockett, and I'm starting Metcalf, even though Metcalf's been a huge disappointment this year against the Ravens. Not doing so confidently because that Ravens defense is pretty nasty, but I'll start those three, but nobody else. I'm not starting Charbonnet. I'm not starting Gene, although Charbonnet looked good last week.
Yeah, he had that one big run that inflated his rushing totals.
It wasn't all of it though.
Yeah, I don't know. You can't really trust it. He's barely getting any touches. He had 2 targets and 5 carries. It's hard to play a guy who's getting 7 touches a game.
He's passing the eye test. His stats look good, except the touches. That's what's killing you.
Well, why should he when Kenneth Walker's got 8 for 66?
Yeah, give that dude the ball more, please. Every play.
You and your man crushes. It's uncanny.
Well, I just traded for him 2 weeks ago. I need Walker to make me look smart.
It's uncanny.
Make me look smart. The Broncos and the surprise of the week. I mean, they kind of whooped up on the Chiefs. Nobody on the Chiefs had double digits. Not Kelsey, not even Patrick Mahomes. Meanwhile, Russell Wilson gets you almost 20. Javonte Williams gets you 27 carries for 85. This is what we want to see. Maybe not 27 carries. That's kind of a lot. But he also had 3 catches, and he scored through the air. Cortland Sutton scored, and Jerry Jeudy all scored. So the main takeaway for me is that the Broncos, as I mentioned earlier, I think are going to be pretty good. And Javonte Williams, obviously we love him, but that's what we need to see. We need a workload from him, and he delivered. Give that dude the rock, and he delivered. So
he did. I wish I would have played Russ. I ended up playing Stroud and cost myself 9 points. But yeah, the Chiefs looked ugly in this.
We'll see how they'll bounce back.
What can you say? Yeah, they will. All good teams do. They always have these games where it was on the road in the snow. Mahomes was sick. Taylor Swift wasn't in the stands. They had all this going against them.
Yep, nothing to play for if she's not there.
Of course not.
What if I told you that the Ravens beat the Cardinals 31-24 and Lamar Jackson had less than 12 fantasy points? That's a tough one to believe.
I'd say that's awesome because I played Gus in the once and done.
Great call, my friend. I had him in a couple of my season-long leagues. Thankfully, the one I didn't play him in, he would have won me the week. I dropped 157 points in a league where normally 125 gets you the win, and I lost. However, if I'd have played Gus, I'd have had a nice 20-point swing and would have been victorious. So That's what I get for doing that. And then Mark Andrews was the only other guy there with 12 fantasy points. And then Josh Dobbs, buddy, he obviously didn't come away with the win and he didn't look real great doing it. But when you got 26 yards on the ground and a rushing score as a quarterback, that's going to help you out. Almost 24 fantasy points for him. Hollywood Brown got you double digits. Was it a 1 yard touchdown catch? And then tight end Trey McBride, buddy, peppered with targets.
Yes.
10 catches, 95, and his own score.
Yeah, that was nice. Josh Dobbs, with about 6 minutes left in the game, I think had about 3 points. In the last 6 minutes of the game, he threw for, I think, 130, 120 yards, something like that, and 2 touchdowns in junk time. But hey, points are points. Doesn't matter what part of the game you get them.
Right. And I actually don't mind. I don't think there's going to be much of a change. Like we talked about Kenny Pickett and Mitchell Trubisky kind of being the same guy in Pittsburgh, so it doesn't really matter who the quarterback is. Clayton Tune comes in and starts for the Cardinals. I think he's going to throw interceptions and get sacked. But I don't know that it affects the pass catchers a whole lot. It's not like it was Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp putting up huge numbers.
Yeah, they're not exactly getting numbers regardless.
Hollywood, right? So if
Kyler
Hollywood
Murray's
Brown
going to be back in week 10.
right? 12 points for Hollywood Brown. I'll take that with Clayton Tune. Trey McBride, another, I don't want to say 10 catches, but if you told me he got 7 or 8, I believe that.
Would you consider Hollywood in once and done playoffs?
Playoffs.
He's got a ceiling, but he's got a floor.
I know. Yeah, I'm not for the playoffs. I don't want to do that to myself. We had mentioned the 49ers losing three in a row. One of them, and the third one was right here this week. Cincinnati on the road going into San Francisco. Joe Burrow, you mentioned he looks great, almost 30 points. Jamar Chase got you 20. They look good. This was somehow Joe Mixon, I think, looked better in this game than he has all year. 87 rushing yards and a touchdown. I had him on a bench in the league because I didn't think he was going to be able to do this against this Niners defense. And then Christian McCaffrey, 26 points. That's what he does. Ayuk was good, 13 and a half. Kittle was good for 20. So, I mean, the fantasy, you're not upset with the fantasy points. Somehow, I feel like the Niners had more viable fantasy starters with only 17 points than the Ravens did with 31 because they all went to Gus.
Turnovers kill.
Yeah.
You can move the
that's
ball all day,
right.
but if you turn the ball over right before you're about to score, no
Purdy
points.
with 2 picks and a fumble, and that is not like him.
It's 2 weeks in a row. He's not looked stellar, let's just say. He hasn't looked awful, but he's looking like the first that we've seen any cracks in the armor, like the deer in the headlights type play. I don't know. And then, of course, we need to quickly mention that the Niners got Chase Young for basically nothing. And we had talked during the week, would they have done this if they hadn't lost in a row? Your thought was yes, because they seem to pull these great deals out of their butts. My thought was maybe not. But when you go on a 3-game losing streak, when 3 weeks ago they were considered hands down the best team in the league,
easily.
Now they're barely cracking people's top 10. So that can tend to lead to panic moves. You're probably right. They probably had an idea of going after some players anyway.
Bears and Chargers. This one was kind of a snooze fest simply because the Chargers, there was no way they were going to lose this game. The Cole Kmet 10 for 79. That's great, but that's not going to happen again. I don't see Tyson Badgett crushing Cole Kmet with all these targets. The Chargers are bad against tight ends anyway. So the matchup this week against the Saints is a far harder matchup. You can still put him out there if you want to, but I wouldn't trust it. As for the Chargers, Herbert, great. Eckler, great. So good to see him bounce back from this is kind of his first really good game, I think, since week 1, whenever he got hurt. And then Keenan Allen, 11 points. Not what you're looking for, but not worried about that.
The way the Chargers played in the first quarter, I thought they were going to throw up 70 like the Dolphins did.
Yeah, dude. 50
They looked
least.
unstoppable. It's just chunk after chunk after chunk. I was thinking Herbert, Eckler, and Keenan Allen were going to have 40 points apiece, but they really backed it off in the second half for whatever reason. So that was good for all of us that didn't play any of them.
Right. And then last game of the week, Monday night, the Detroit Lions embarrassed the Raiders. got their head coach fired. Only person for the Raiders worth starting was Josh Jacobs, even though Devontae Adams could have had an enormous game. And then you got your big three for the Raiders. The running back, whoever that is, happened to be Jahmyr Gibbs, 152 on the ground, a score, and 5 for 37. Sam Laporta. Is Sam Laporta in the running for Rookie of the Year
Yeah,
as a
maybe,
tight end? 8 for
maybe.
57 and a touchdown. He is
Yeah, but when you have
absolutely
Jahmyr
dominant.
Gibbs doing things like that and a couple other guys doing well, Jordan Addison, some others, it'd be tough. But he's
Okay,
got to be in the conversation.
which is crazy because rookie tight ends, that doesn't happen very often, right? So good for him.
My question here too: does anybody on the Raiders even have the inclination to tackle besides Max Crosby, who is possibly the most frightening player in the NFL?
Does he have the longest arms on earth?
He looks like if he played for a good team, he's the guy that could win you the Super Bowl. He's the guy that can take your defense to the next level. He has to play on this trash and be the only guy on the field who seems to even care.
Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm watching him run, and I'm like, oh man, he's got a big gain here because I started him in the once and
Yeah.
done. Next thing I know, I see this enormous arm reach out and
Yes.
just like 4 or 5 times.
If it wasn't for him, he'd have had 250 yards because
Easily.
the rest of the team, it's honestly at times it looks like they're not really trying. Like they expect if we just touch a guy, he'll fall over like it's flag football or some two-hand touch. It was weird watching Gibbs. Like even his touchdown, he didn't really break tackles. The guys just sort of go at him, and he just runs by them. It was bizarre. I think again, the Raiders don't even look like they're trying. I think that's part why McDaniels is going, not just because they're losing. They don't even look like they care.
Yeah. So maybe they'll bring it on and play harder for Antonio Pierce.
And Amon Ra was sick, was maybe I'm going to play, and he ends up freaking doing his normal thing.
You know who the Raiders play this week?
I don't.
The Giants.
Oh,
And
sweet God.
Antonio Pierce was named the head coach, the interim head coach. He used to play for the Giants. This feels like Mark Davis is just kind of poking the bear here.
This is that I don't know that I would pay $10 to go watch that game. I'd rather just go watch a local high school playoff game.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch it on TV. That's for sure.
Wow.
All right. You ready to do our starts of the week?
Sure, buddy.
How about you go first? What QB you got going here? I think you already mentioned it, though.
I did. I had Derek Carr going because they're going up against Bears. Where am I? Yeah, the Bears, who give up the fourth most to quarterbacks, and it's in New Orleans. Bears are reeling, and New Orleans all of a sudden they're the odds on maybe I think to win that division. They're going to keep this going.
And yeah, I think more importantly with all this is the Saints defense is good enough that Carr's going to have a lot of opportunities.
He should.
They're going to get that ball back,
get
create
3 or
turnovers,
4 turnovers. So. Yeah.
Yep. All right, running back. Who's your man?
I actually went with Mixon this week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like that. He's one of those guys that seems to get in a rhythm. He did the same thing last year. He had that huge game, and then he sort of rode that afterwards to a really strong rest of the season. They're at home against the Bills, who are roughly 10th against the run. What should be a high-scoring affair. I could see him throwing up 20 points.
Beat, buddy. Let's ride the Gus bus. Talk about being on a roll. He was RB6 2 weeks ago, RB1 last week. Obviously, he's not going to be able to keep that up, but man, you're at home, middle of the pack Seahawks defense against the run. And look, they get to the goal line. Imagine they're not calling Lamar Jackson's number like we know they do.
So smart. 2 of his touchdowns were 1-yarders.
Give the ball Gus Edwards. Don't have Lamar Jackson running into defensive linemen and stuff. It's silly.
With you, brother.
Let's go, Gus.
I'm hoping for another big week from him.
Yes.
You want to go first on receivers?
Yeah. Mine's a little scary. I'll be honest. I'm going with Drake London. He's only got 2 games with double-digit fantasy points, but they both came at home. He plays at home this week against a Minnesota defense that's terrible. They give up the 5th most fantasy points to wide receivers. The starter is Heineke, which I kind of think helps Drake London because because he's more apt
Kind
to
of. You could put
throw.
you in there and it would kind of help.
He's going to air the ball out more than
What are you
Desmond Ridder.
talking about? It's a huge improvement. That's not even that's apples and oranges.
Yeah, but it's not like we're throwing Tua out there.
No, we're not. But dude, this is night and day. Desmond Ridder is the worst starter in the league.
Oh, okay.
The worst full-time regular starter in the league. The worse than Zach Wilson,
who's
who
no
wasn't
longer
really
the
a
full-time
starter.
starter.
What's that?
I said who's no longer the full-time starter.
Correct. He's not.
Who you got?
So there's talk that Drake London might not play this week. If
Right,
he doesn't,
yeah, I know.
did you have a number 2 in mind?
I can get you one. You go ahead and tell me who you're.
I was just asking because he hasn't practiced 2 days in a row, and now it's looking more and more like he might be more of a 50-50.
Yeah, but I mean,
I went with the one that I really want to throw out there. It's one that everybody would play anyway, and it's Garrett Wilson because he's playing against the Chargers. Because I can't always consider him an every week guy just because the Jets have Zach Wilson throwing. Although you got to play him anyway, it's Garrett Wilson. But other than that, I'll go with Deontay Johnson tonight up against the awful Tennessee secondary, endless targets. I'm going for him before he gets hurt again.
All right, if I got to back up, what if I said Rashee Rice, rookie wide receiver from Kansas City, home game? Miami's probably going to be able to put up a good many points against Kansas City. It's probably going to end up being a shootout. I don't know off the top of my head what the over-under is for that one, but it's probably pretty high. And Rashee Rice is very slowly, but I think he's developing into the number one receiver there. He's certainly the most explosive. So I'll go Rashee Rice if Drake London sits.
That works. Demario Douglas is another one that for those of you out there who probably have never even heard of him, or maybe
he's in the ones and done for me right now.
Yeah, he's my one. He and Rashid, whatever. I can't announce the Muslim names. There's too many Eids and Sheeds and Rashid Shahid. Yes, it's one or the other of those two that I'll have in at the end. But he's going to lead the team in targets. That's just the way it is. How productive they'll be, don't know, but he should lead the team in targets. He led them last week, even with Bourne playing most of the game. He didn't get hurt till the beginning of the fourth quarter.
My tight end is a guy I started last week, Dalton Kincaid. Big game last week. Dawson Knox still out. The Bengals are one of the worst defenses against the tight end. You had mentioned that there's going to be some points scored in this one, so Buffalo's going to need to keep up. Throw that ball to Kincaid.
Yep, Bengals, I think you just mentioned, second worst against tight ends. He's already in my lineup for the week.
Me last week, you this week. Let's go. Yep. Let's do it, buddy. And then my defense, New Orleans Saints. We talked about it already. Tyson Bagent. Come on. This is going to be an easy one. At home, lots of points to be had here in New Orleans. Let's make it.
I picked him too. If I had to pick a second one, it would be Cleveland against a nobody. Possibly the Falcons against a nobody from Minnesota. Man, it's like pick your poison here.
I played Atlanta last week.
The one I pick will have 3 points. The other ones will have 17.
Right. So let me know which one you're picking, so I pick the other one.
I have the Saints.
No takesy backsies.
Currently, I have the Saints in because they're the defense that I actually trust the most. Plus, I already played Cleveland. I can't play them. But like I played the Ravens last week. They, I think, were the second lowest scoring defense in the once and done.
Well, happens to the best of us, my friend.
Just they fell apart there the last 6 minutes of the game. I lost like 7 points in 6 minutes.
Yeah, that was not my favorite.
They just quit. They just gave up. Quit playing.
Anything else for you, sir?
It seemed like there were some we were going to touch on, but then we never did. But I don't remember what it was. So I guess there's nothing left.
All good. Thank you all for listening. Make sure to check us out. Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, Get Your Bell Rung Football Podcast. He's Kevin. I'm Bobby. See you in a week.
See ya.